Welcome everyone. This is the meeting of the North East Derbyshire District Council's Cabinet. It's the 26th of January. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Have we received any?
Chair, I've received apologies from Councillor Renwick and Councillor Foster.
Thank you very much. Any declarations of interest from anyone? No? Okay. Minutes of the last meeting. Are we happy to approve them as a true and accurate record? I'll happily move them. Second, Councillor Powell. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. And then we come to developing business support services and environmental health, and I'll hand over to Councillor Cupit.
Thanks, Chair. Hopefully quite a sort of self-explanatory report, but the main aim of this is to start to look to expand the sort of environmental health support that we offer, particularly for businesses and therefore in relation to pest control. So as per the two recommendations, at the moment environmental health have very close connections with businesses, both through the sort of regulatory sort of necessity, but then also through sort of advising and helping particularly new businesses, but also existing businesses, things like pest control, sort of maintaining that side, and then also sort of food standards and food standard inspections. So we're noticing, given the sort of increasing sort of smaller businesses, which is a good thing in the district, that there is a higher demand for advice and support as businesses set up, particularly in terms of that regulatory side and particularly the food safety side, and then also a demand for pest control in relation to businesses. Obviously we provide it on a household and sort of individual basis, but not for businesses, and I think there is a market there to be able to support businesses in that regard if they want it, whilst being clear we're not seeking to compete with sort of any existing firms. So that's the purpose of the report, is to sort of explore that further and to introduce it in a small way and sort of be able to support businesses in our district, particularly as the environmental health team continue. We're in a much better position now to what we were a few years ago, given the investment that we've made in the service and the recruitment that we've had. So I'm happy to move the two recommendations. I don't know if Ken or anybody else has got any other comments.
Chair, the only thing I would add to that really is just to be really specifically clear that this isn't about charging for anything that we currently provide. I think it's really important that we're clear about that. It's about additional advice and support and additional services around pest control.
Brilliant, thanks, Ken. Any other comments from anyone? No. If not, I'll happily second. I think it's good paper and definitely going in the right direction with it. So support that, and we'll move to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. And then we come to the medium-term financial plan, and I'll hand over to Jane first to give us a bit of an overview of the paper.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is the medium-term financial plan for the period through from 22-23 to 26-27. The purpose of the report is to seek approval of the budgets for the budget for next year and those future years contained within the plan. I'm not going to go through all of the detail because I know that you've studied this at length, and the recommendations will be referred through to Cabinet, but just to pick out the key highlights for you. The national settlement figures that have been included in the MTFP for the next 4 years contain rollovers for the next 2 years, but there's less certainty for future years in the plan. New homes bonus and a selection of other grants have been included, including the new 3% funding guarantee. Business rates are in as previously planned, part of the Derbyshire Business Rates pool, and those growths been included in the forecasts. There's quite a lot of talk in the MTFP this time about the economic and fiscal outlook, which of course has had a massive impact on the budgets this year. We've got high inflation in there, we've got rising interest rates, and that's led to higher than forecast pay settlements and significant increases to our energy costs. Put my teeth in. We've also seen quite a lot of increases to our contractual spends, and that's led us to a position where we can balance our budget in 23-24, but we are using our resilience reserve to do so. The impact of the energy costs were just too severe and too sudden for us to be able to identify long, meaningful efficiencies during that time. So the plan is that we will use the resilience reserve to meet those efficiencies to balance the budget, and then we will do as we always do, we will seek to find those efficiencies in year and on a more long-term sustainable basis. The future years of the plan, 24-25 isn't looking too bad at this moment in time. 25-26 onwards starts to get a little bit more difficult because of the removal of government funding. However, I do reference in the report that is where the funding reforms to be implemented in 25-26, there is the likelihood that there will be some damping payments, and that would help us through that transitionary period. Council tax is recommended to be set at 3%, which is the maximum that we could go to this year. Based on the fact that we've got 12% inflation running through the budget, that helps, but it doesn't solve the shortfall. Just briefly onto the HRA. The HRA isn't under quite the same pressure as the general fund, but it's still experiencing all of those same external pressures. So it's experiencing pay inflation, particularly contracts inflation around some of the building contracts. And that has resulted in us increasing Ricknord's management fee through the negotiated process in the contract. Ricknord have done a considerable amount of work to limit that increase through their own efficiency savings in the year. And with respect to rents, considerable amount of work's gone into this, looking at the affordability and how much we should be increasing the rents by. The regulators advised that we could go to 7%. The lowest my advice would be that you could go to is 4%, but that makes me somewhat nervous because it doesn't build in any sort of resilience in the year. And on a £32 million budget, you need some resilience. So the recommendation of 5% is being endorsed at this stage, and that will go through to council for approval on Monday. And I'm happy to take any questions. Oh, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Kenyon now, I believe, through the chair.
Any questions first before we move on to? No, thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Thanks, Jane. Over to you, Jeremy.
Yes, thank you, Jane, for that. It's not a lot to say because it'll be all gone through again at full council, but it is worth saying we're in a strong position financially, much stronger than some other councils might be, and that's down to a lot of very hard work by officers. So thank you very much for getting us into a position where I'm not having to stand up and deliver a load of horrible bad news. And the only other thing I would say is it's a very difficult balancing act. Obviously, the 3%, 2.99% council tax rise that's in the paper is way below inflation. That's already difficult, but it's a balance there. Even more so on the HRA, the rent figure, you're balancing out future investment, providing decent homes with affordability for our residents, and we've chosen what we believe is the best possible balance that we can in the circumstances we all know about. So I'm very happy to move the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Kenyon. Absolutely agree with you. It's always a difficult balance on these on the budget, and whether it's council tax or rents, we've always got to balance people's back pockets and challenging financial circumstances with our own challenges and the need to continue to invest in services and the condition of our housing stock. And I think on the whole we've hit the mark right in this paper and in these recommendations. And we've got to remember that inflation is way above what the percentage increases that we're talking about. So definitely think it's the right thing to do, and clearly we can't stand still or go backwards. So this is the best of a difficult set of decisions, really. Any other comments from anyone? No, if not, we'll go to the vote then. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. And then on the agenda, we just have urgent items, of which there are none. So I declare the meeting closed. Thank you everyone for your attendance, and look forward to seeing you soon.